Well, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, John. Thank you, ILCP. As John mentioned, I am a hybrid between science and photography, kind of a small Frankenstein. But I like to talk about mangroves because this ecosystem is very fascinating. Mangroves are the trees that live in the interface between the ocean and the land. And our skin, they protect the coast against the erosion, against hurricanes, and really are very fascinating ecosystems. There are only 50 species around the world, and each of them have evolved from terrestrial plants, and each of them also have adapted in different ways. So this is a red mangrove in Chiapas, in southern Mexico, and they can grow up to 40 meters high when they have a constant fresh water source. But the same species, when they grow in dry conditions like deserts, they only grow a couple of meters. So if you ask me what admire more about these trees is the way that they expand as a forest. And this is a very nice strategy. The seeds of these trees germinate when they are still attached to the mother plant or the mother tree. And like upside down missiles, they detach from the tree when the conditions are very good, and they go directly to the bottom and start a new life. And actually, even if they fail doing that, that seed also can travel long distances and colonize other habitats, even rocky habitats like this. So only takes one of these plants to have these 100 years later. And you can see these beautiful ecosystems protect and give refuge for many species once they start working as an ecosystems. And also you can see the calm waters that you can observe inside these lagoons. And I'm pretty sure that many mirrors, or all the mirrors, will envy about the reflections that you can observe when you are visiting the center of these lagoons. And bears, mammals, many species also are looking for these calm waters that are not only calm, but also are very productive. And this is the reason why even fish come to these ecosystems to spend their nursery time. Basically, this is the perfect nursery for many species, especially the ones that we know that we have put a price on them. So everything starts, for example, in the pelagic, in the water column. There are the larvae of these fish. Then these juveniles come, find the mouth of the estuaries, and then move to the mangrove roots. They spend 1 year there, grow, survive, and then prepare for the long migration to shallow rocky reefs until they reach deep rocky reefs. And here, in the offshore reefs, is where humans receive all the benefits of these ecosystems because we catch all these fish offshore. I like to call mangroves like the tortilla machines, but actually are the fish maker machines, yes? And probably the first message that you can take from this presentation is that many of the fish and many of the seafood that you get on your plates come from the mangroves. So I brought my chalkboard to show you some things that we do with two databases. We put together a database about mangroves and database about landings, and we found, this is rocket science, that when you have more mangrove, you have more landings. But actually, the most important part is that if you multiply these landings by the prices that you can get in the markets, you can see how much money these mangroves are producing every year for many, many coastal communities. And look how much 1 hectare. Peter in the morning did an excellent job to teach you what is a hectare, so I won't explain that. Look how much money a hectare of mangrove produces every year just in fishery products. However, as a society, we haven't understood this ecological value nor the economical value. And we think that this is only, or we thought that this is dramatic, but actually we are not taking into account the revenue lost that we are suffering along the years. So imagine if we destroy a hectare of mangrove today, 30 years later, we will be losing, or the society will be losing around more than $500,000 well, because we cannot replace this hectare of mangrove anymore. But this connection is beyond the fish. Actually, Robert was talking about birds from Alaska, and you know, between US, Alaska, Canada, and Mexico, there are 27 species of migratory birds that are shared, and every year, these birds come from Alaska, cross Canada, cross US, and spend their winter in Mexico. And they are not only beauty, but also they generate a lot of revenues in the hunting industry when they come back to Alaska. There is a huge hunting industry that receives many benefits. So guess what? What we found when we put together also information, well, yes, if you have a bigger coastal lagoon and healthy mangroves, there are more birds migrating, and these represent a lot of revenues in the hunting industry. Around $40,000 per year just in the hunting industry. So now you can understand all these services that mangroves provide to humans: fisheries, water purification, biodiversity, erosion control, hurricane protection, many, many services that we need to understand that only 1 hectare of mangrove produces. And let me tell you about this carbon sequestration. Mangroves also can be compared with the most productive ecosystems like grasslands to produce biomass, this basically organic material that at the end is the base of, or is the nutrients that produce more life. And with natural processes or with the help of other animals like this one, these materials go and buried in the sediments. And basically, mangroves take the CO2, produce leaves, and then these leaves go down. And scientists, in order to understand this process, use these machines, these corers, to dig very deep in the sediments, and especially in the areas where these roots submerge and have been submerged for many, many, many years. And then they take these corers, they get samples every different distance along the core, they dry the samples, and then analyze their content. And through that, they have understood that going just 1 meter in deep is like traveling on time 1,000 years. And also they have understood that the accumulation of carbon has been increased in the last centuries. Actually, after Industrial Revolution, there is more carbon sequestered by mangroves. So now, I think it's more easy to understand why biologists and economists have put a minimum value for 1 hectare of mangrove per year around $100,000. But again, society has not understood very well this value. And we have been destroying mangrove very fast. In the last 50 years, we have lost 50% of the mangrove area around the world. And I think it's time to start working very hard and working very fast to stop this deforestation. And I think it's possible because only 69 countries have this kind of ecosystems and represent 156,000 square kilometers, so not much. But look this number, only 7 countries. If we work in 7 countries, we can protect 61% of that ecosystem. So I think it's possible. We need to do a lot of efforts, but this is one of the campaigns that we will start in the coming months, years. And one branch of this campaign will deal with the fact that we need to recover the large animals that used to be in these ecosystems, like sharks, seals, crocodiles, or even turtles. So let me show you three examples where we have been working, trying to document and to raise awareness about the condition of these mangroves. The first one is here in Chiapas. The other one is here in Chinchorro Atoll. I will tell you the last one later. This is in Chiapas. This is one of the biggest mangroves in entire Mexico. It's called La Encrucijada. It's a biosphere reserve. But even with that category of protection, you can see how the pressure is coming from the outside of the lagoon. But in the heart of the forest, there is one family that is dedicated to preserve all these natural resources. Every day they patrol the forest. Humberto Yi and his uncle Abel, they travel along the forest and they use the network of routes inside the islands to move from one spot to different spots. And they are looking, especially in a spring or in a spring, they are looking for some particular objective that are the nest of the crocodiles. So what they have been doing is taking these little guys and maintain them with them for between 1 and 2 months, because when they release them, their survivorship increases exponentially. And doing that practice in the last 10 years, they have recovered the population of these big animals. And every year you can see more and more of these big guys that now are helping them to maintain also the ecosystems, because now these guys are acting as the top predators in the lagoon. In the other side of the Mexico, in the Caribbean, here is the Chinchorro Atoll. You can see the same species, the American crocodile. There is a distance around 50 kilometers between the continent and the atoll. And in one of the islands, you can see the majority of the mangroves are there, protected by the ring of corals of the atoll. Very few people go there. It's very, let's see, pristine compared with the coastal area. The fauna there, you can approach without any problem above ground and also on the water. And as I said, you can see the same species there. When the fishermen come back from the day of fishing and they clean the fish, the crocodiles come from the mangroves, cross the paris of seagrasses, and get some of the carcassons that the fishermen throw it away. But the most important thing is that this is probably the last pure population, genetically speaking, of American crocodile in Mexico. And probably the forest, the mangrove forest, is one of the most pristine in Mexico. And as you can see, isolation is one of the ways that we can go and document what is happening with the mangroves. And what better place than the Galapagos Island to go and work with this isolation is there are 1,000 kilometers between the continent and the islands. So I joined one expedition this last April to document what is happening with these ecosystems around the island. And you can see that the habitat is very hostile. You can, sometimes you don't think that mangroves can create all these ecosystems around this island, but there are many of them, especially in one of the 5 main islands. And we spent 1 month traveling around the islands and documenting all this fauna. It was very difficult to go inside these lagoons. Every day we had to wait for the tide to flood the entrance. But once we were there were many beautiful things, very amazing spectacles. The guardians always were looking at us as very curious animals. But the first moment I jumped in the water, I knew that it would be a completely different experience because the productivity of these lagoons was very incredible. Many sharks, sharks eating all this productivity, all these groups of fish. It was very difficult to capture these images, but in the middle of the lagoons, several tens of sea turtles swimming around me. It was very incredible to experience how these ecosystems used to be in many other places. And I saw some events of mating. I'm pretty sure that these sea turtles come to reproduce inside these lagoons, and there is a very incredible refuge for many of these species, these large species. The last ones were sea lions that were playing inside these mangrove roots. In one moment, one of them jumped out of the water, and it was on top of this mangrove trunk, inviting me to come and take a picture. And suddenly I was like in an Alice in Wonderland. Everything was magic, everything was there. All the elements of the ecosystem were in these mangroves. And I think this is what should be the state of all the mangroves worldwide. Thank you.